So
My thing. Posting to the internet. Oh, good. We're on air. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 84 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, June 19th, 2017.
Hi, I'm Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, content provider for Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders, and host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
Oh,
Marty,
shit. This is episode 85.
No!
Sorry, I want a do-over.
We were doing so well.
I know, but this is episode 85. Your drop is weak, son.
Also, for whatever reason, the live button didn't show live for me till like halfway through Gavin's intro. So you might have cut that off too.
That's okay. I'm recording it locally anyway. Anyway, one more time from the beginning.
Good work.
Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 85 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, June 19th, 2017.
Hi, I'm Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, content provider for Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders, and the host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
And I'm Marty, hunter and sport shooter in rural Southern Ontario.
Hello.
And Sean's here. Sean, read your intro.
Oh, I don't even have the show notes pulled up. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, what am I reading? My intro?
Yeah, just tell us who you are.
Who you are.
Well, I'm Sean, guys. Yeah,
Do you like long walks on the beach?
I do like long walks on the beach. I need more long walks on the beach because I'm grossly overweight. But yeah, no, I'm Sean. I'm the CCFR Regional Field Officer Coordinator for Saskatchewan, father of one IPSC, IDPA, and 3-gun competitor in Saskatchewan.
Okay, as always, I'm your host. My name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactics.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. The edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. And if you use iTunes, we'd love some more 5-star reviews. And when you do, in the comment section, put down something you'd like us to drink for an episode.
All right, and as always, you can check out the podcast on Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Sure, Sean, go for it. Oh, Sean, you're super muted, buddy.
You should unmute yourself first.
Rookie mistake. So because of that, Sean needs more podcast training, apparently. So we need more help, guys. So to support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. To get the uncensored audio version of the show, you just for $1, and if you pledge more, Gavin might draw something for you.
It's true. I will. You and the shiny pony hanging out, doing stuff.
Not but stuff.
That sounds. Let's go into what are you drinking, Gavin? What are you drinking?
I am once again drinking Canadian Club small batch because a few friends were kind enough to give me a very large bottle of it. I am now mostly through it, but there's probably another podcast or two left in it, depending how angry we get.
Marty, what are you drinking?
Sailor Jerry and Coke Zero.
John, are you drinking?
Oh, no, I'm not. I am dry tonight. Hence the lateness.
Nothing at all?
The lateness of the podcast. I should run and grab something. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait, hey, before you go.
He's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Andrew, what are
I'm
you
drinking an IPA from a... I'm getting to that. I'm drinking an IPA from Black Swan Brewery. They're one of my local breweries here in Stratford, Ontario. It's quite tasty. Okay, well, I guess Sean's going to come back when he's ready. Let's get into the news. We've got a full plate of things to get through tonight. So the first thing that we've got is the U.S. could stand in the way. Wow. The U.S. could stand in the way of the Canadian purchase of armed drones. This comes to us from the National Post, which is currently offline. Fantastic.
So, I don't know. I don't know how much of a story this is. So, yes, if we were to buy drones, we would be buying Predator drones from the U.S., of which, as any of the advanced U.S. military technology, they have a saying, like they have a say into whether or not they export it. So if we want to buy them, yes, the U.S. would have to agree to sell us them.
It would actually be kind of funny though, like if Trump like is the guy that like goes, no, we're not selling them drones. It'd be funny because he kind of also bitched out that we're not like spending enough to keep up with NATO. So it's like, you can't have it both ways, bro. But also, don't drone me.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, where I see this is that this is likely going to be, and rightfully so, is going to be used as a bargaining chip. Like, there's going to be a lot of negotiations going on. Like, we already talked about the lumber and beef industries, with some of the issues with NAFTA. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is used as a bargaining chip.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be the smart move, right? Use them to leverage getting their softwood lumber, and all that nonsense.
We have avionics companies in Canada. Why don't we just have somebody locally build it? We could just give $1 billion to Bombardier. I'm sure they would have run just fine.
Yeah, but when we do that, we go, you know what? These are too good, and then we sink them at the bottom of a lake.
Well, that would be disappointing.
Yeah, so I understand the sentiment. I don't know if maybe I necessarily think that Bombardier would be the right company for that one, but
oh no, that was entirely sarcastic. We shouldn't give Bombardier any money.
Right.
But if we do, we should at least get something for it. Yeah, if we do, we should at least get something for it, like drones.
But there are other companies in Canada that make things that fly, so it stands to reason that somebody should be able to make us a Canadian drone.
Right.
Like who?
So I think, well, there's definitely Canadian drone companies. I mean, I don't want to start getting into some of those names, but yeah, they exist. From looking at what they're doing, what they're able to achieve today, I think we'd spend the money on the Predator drones.
I'm okay if we get Predator drones. I'm also okay if we get somebody else's drones, as long as we get to blow things up that need to be blown up. I don't particularly care whose name is on the side of it.
Don't we need updated fighter jets?
Yeah, we're
Yes,
getting
we're getting
88
drones.
jets.
Not if we have Predator drones.
So,
yes.
Just the slice down. There was a good quote in there by Trudeau talking about the Predator drones, and like basically saying that we'll as we come up with new ways to use these Predator drones, we'll take a step back and really analyze and think about how we're utilizing these Predator drones. It's like, don't you just use them for blowing up people? Like, they're pretty one-dimensional.
No,
they
you can use them for
functions.
long-range reconnaissance.
And
No. So like
blowing the
that's
people up
we
for
have
reconnaissance.
Yeah.
we have reconnaissance drones. These are specifically like we are we are at and that's what this is. We're looking for armed drones. We're looking specifically for yes.
Yeah, that's all I got. I wanted to bring that up because I think this is going to be something that the Americans are going to use to bargain with us on other import-export policies that we have. We're not getting the cool Predator drones. We'll have to play ball with the Americans on something else to get them. I would still rather that we found a Canadian manufacturer and just built our own drones.
And ultimately, this isn't going to be, I mean, like I said, they're going to use as bargaining chip, but the U.S. is not going to be concerned about Canada getting drones. Like they have a strict policy as to who they sell these things to, but Canada is not on the list of countries that they are concerned about right now.
Give it time. We'll make the list.
Yeah.
Just saying, we have them right where we want them.
All right, let's go into the next one. There's a dying industry that's asking Ottawa for money, because that's what we do in this country is we just give dying industries, Boeing, looking at you, money. So newspaper publishers are asking Ottawa for $350 million a year to try and save print media. To which I say no.
Yeah. Get with the times.
Put the sick dog down.
Yeah. Like switch to.
It's bad enough that we have a state. No, I disagree. It's bad enough that we have to pay for the CBC. The CBC gets $135 million a year from the Canadian taxpayer.
Oh yeah, no, but that's my point. Like, if you can't make a living doing what you're doing, get with the times. Switch formats, right? Like, go to subscriptions, like a lot of the major news outlets have done for their paper, and it gets sent to your phone every morning. You know, instead of paying 50 cents for the paper, you pay 50 cents a day to have it sent to your phone.
Yeah, but so the thing is, people will only pay for things that they value.
Well, yeah, if they stop printing fake news, then more people would maybe spend money on it.
That's right.
No, there is no journalistic integrity in our country. The newspaper association that's asking for this, I am very okay if they all go out of business.
Yeah, and to be fair, there is some journalistic integrity. We totally are upfront about who we do and do not shill for.
Look at me. We the journalists now.
Exactly.
Well, that's the way it's going, right? It's evolving into podcasting and various other types of media, right? Like podcasting 10 years ago was not nearly as big as it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really set the trend there.
Yeah. You're welcome, everybody.
Jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
But,
I'm okay.
So no, we gotta let this thing go.
I don't mind if we let newspapers go out of business. I don't think this is something that we should be on the hook for as taxpayers. And if Ottawa does it, it's a very poor financial decision to be doing that.
Yeah, if people wanted newspapers, they would be spending the money to get them. Like, my father still reads the newspaper, but, you know, that's because he's old school and needs everything in hard copy. But you know what? If they just disappeared, he would have to learn to adapt, and he would. He'd be fine, as will everyone else.
Oddly enough, it isn't so much like the alternative media that has killed newspapers. It's Kijiji. So more than any money that they made on their advertising things, like the money that was paying for newspaper printing was the classifieds. And now
so what you're saying
is like
all the hookers on Craigslist and Backpage and everywhere else have jumped ship.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Sure. We'll go with Gavin's explanation of hookers.
Hookers brought down the newspapers.
It's actually going to be my new chapter in the new copy of Freakonomics, how hookers have destroyed the print media. That's
as long as they don't get money from the government, I don't care how. Like, we shouldn't be giving these people $300 million to keep their failing businesses afloat. That's a terrible plan. Don't do that.
And again, we're talking about newspapers, not the hookers.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't get money
no.
from the government either. I mean, let's be fair. Nobody should be getting money.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I'm sure that a lot of the money the hookers receive are coming from government.
And by hookers, we're talking about hookers, not the CBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, one in the same. One in the same.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Marty, do you want to talk about the long gun registry data?
Oh God.
So did you get the audio clips that I sent you as well for this?
Ready to go.
Okay, good. So just a follow-up to what we spoke about last Monday. We talked about the long gun registry data, and as we said, from the dates, basically the dates of how everything went, the data was ordered destroyed, and the RCMP confirmed that they had destroyed all of the data. Afterwards, like weeks afterwards, there was a request from the Quebec government to hold that data. That was all fought through court. They lost, and all of the data, including the Quebec data, everything was confirmed to have been destroyed. And then what we're talking about last week with this whole change to, what is it, Bill C? I forget. Go back to last week's episode to learn more about that. But apparently there's data again. And so that's where Zimmerman has come in. Always a good fighter for our cause. And he had a couple of questions in the question period earlier. I guess it was last week, middle of last week.
Sorry, his name's Bob Zimmer, not Zimmerman.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. Thank you. And so, Andrew, why don't you play the first question and then the answer?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. According to Deputy Commissioner Peter Henschel's own testimony, June 4th, 2015, and I quote, "The RCMP destroyed the records between October 26, 2012 and October 31st, 2012, with the exception of the Quebec records, which were maintained pending the outcome of a Supreme Court decision. When that decision was rendered on March 27, 2015, the RCMP deleted the remaining Quebec records April 10th to 12th, 2015. Someone isn't telling the truth, Mr. Speaker. Can the minister explain why he is saying something different than the RCMP?
Mr. Speaker, the previous government was deeply embroiled in an argument with the Information Commissioner because it was alleged by the Information Commissioner that while an outstanding access to information complaint was being made, the previous government had taken steps to improperly remove and destroy that information. That was the position taken by the Information Commissioner. She took the government to court. She launched a constitutional challenge, and is that unseemly mess that we are trying now to unwind with legislation before this House.
All right, now before we go on to the next question, I want to remind everyone that what we spoke about last week is one of the main changes that is proposed as part of this bill, if it goes through, is the Conservative government had put in as part of the ending of the Long Gun Registry Act that this data was to be destroyed and no access to information, no the other like protection of public records or something like that did not apply to this data, and that this data needed to be was to be destroyed, and that essentially there was no access to information did not apply to this data, and this data needed to be destroyed. That was one of the amendments that this bill that was introduced by Goodall was to reverse. And so that's based on that last comment there. Everything you just said is kind of bullshit. Anyways, let's go to the next question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, all of those events about which the honourable gentleman complains, in fact, took place under the previous administration. If he's got a problem...
Sorry.
You had one job, dude.
I'll fix it.
There's a problem with what that minister just said, Mr. Speaker. The Quebec data was ordered destroyed after a failed appeal at the Supreme Court and further confirmed destroyed April 2015 by the RCMP Deputy Commissioner Peter Henschel. The Information Commissioner didn't ask for the data until June 2015, 2 months after it was allegedly destroyed by the RCMP. Someone is not being honest here, Mr. Speaker, and Canadian law-abiding firearms owners deserve to know the truth. If the long gun registry data is not destroyed, the minister is saying the RCMP didn't tell the truth at committee, a serious accusation. An equally serious accusation is that someone illegally preserved the data. Which is it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, all of those events about which the honourable gentleman complains, in fact, took place under the previous administration. If he's got a problem with that process, he should ask his colleagues who formerly occupied those cabinet positions.
That's not an answer.
No. So because the Conservatives were in power when the RCMP lied and said they had destroyed the data when actually preserving the data so that they could then hand it over to the Liberals later on, because the Conservatives were in power when they committed that fraud, therefore it's totally fine, and blame the Conservatives?
No, it's not fine. You know, and good on Bob Zimmer. Like, good on Bob Zimmer for raking Goodale over the coals here. You know, these guys.
This was a great exchange.
Yeah, you know, and of course the typical non-answer from a Liberal cabinet minister, right? So, you know, good on Bob, man. He's standing up for us.
Yes, always has. You know, he had the data there. He had, you know, he's well educated on the issue. And nailed them on it. But as you said, right now there is a Liberal Party policy where they don't answer the question and they just speak generically on the topic based on their talking points.
Yes. So in regards to this, I can personally say that if the data does exist, which I'm about 99% sure it does exist, and B, the RCMP blatantly lied. Peter Henschel, Deputy Commissioner Peter Henschel, he specifically lied about this. We need a head on a post, and we need it now, because this shit does not fly. This cannot happen. This is corruption, you know.
And so we know they have data. There is data that exists. What we don't know is what the data is. We don't know if it's all of Canada or just Quebec, and we don't know in terms of.
No, it's all of Canada.
So, but like, regardless of
how they
what it is, like, no question, it should just be destroyed. End of story. Oh shit, we have this on a computer that was found in a back room that we forgot about. This was supposed to be destroyed.
No, they have hard copies.
Smash it with a fucking hammer. Burn any hard copies. End of story. That's what should happen, because that's what was ordered to happen. There's no, oh well, it's up for debate now. It doesn't matter. That should be fucking destroyed.
Anything else, preserving the data in any form, preserving data in any form was illegal. And our highest police force was committing an unlawful act by preserving that data.
Although, you know, maybe it was on an email server in a bathroom, which totally makes it okay.
You're confusing American presidential candidates for our police.
But isn't that a global thing, though? Doesn't that work everywhere?
No. I think it's the same, and you're missing it. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the bathroom. It just needs to be a left-leaning organization. As long as they're left-leaning, then they can get away with whatever they want.
That's the stipulation. Okay, I was confused.
Yeah.
Globalism.
I just figured that things that were full of shit needed to be in the bathroom.
Well played.
Yeah, no, there should be no question. Like, just, like, I mean, it's, you know, with computers and shit like that, it's possible that something was forgot in a room that, put aside and got shit piled on it or whatever, and, they forgot about it. Now they find that there's data on it. Okay, great. It should have been destroyed immediately. Like, people make mistakes. That's fair. Now correct that mistake and destroy the data. End of story. Problem solved. And
ignorance is not a defense.
No, it's not.
So I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's not. But the only way to move forward is to destroy that. At least, like, own up to your mistake and destroy it. And then whoever was responsible for that fuck up needs to suffer the consequences of it. But, like, don't play this out in the media. Like, solve the fucking problem and destroy the data. End of story. Done. Also, give everyone back their guns from, like, High River and anywhere else that they've stolen them for illegally. But that's just my opinion, man.
All right. But now here's the thing, though, is we have this data that is illegal data that have been, and what have we done? We've created a new amendment to allow this legal data to be then handed off to the Quebec government. So instead of reprimanding them for it, we're like, oh, good, we have this illegal data. Let's use this illegal data.
That's what I think of this whole thing.
Yeah. No, we need to head on the fight, guys. Like, anyway.
I agree.
All of my
I agree with the head on a spike issue.
I'm fine with
Head
that.
on a big head, that's what we need.
I want to do the next one, but I can't because, again, the National Post has a shitty website that isn't loading.
I do have that one open already, though.
All right, I want to talk about that one because there's an issue with some of our recent immigrants that we decided to bring into our country. There are a number of Muslim families in Winnipeg that want their children excused from certain curriculum in the public school system in Winnipeg, particularly having to do with phys ed. They want to have gender segregated classes because they don't want their children involved in that, and they don't want to have any of their children involved in music classes because it violates their religious principles. I'd really like to get the National Post up because they had stats on how many families it was, because it wasn't a big number, like 90 families, something like this.
12. I have the article up. It's
I don't know.
I had opened it before their website went down. So it's 12 families across 6 schools.
So very few.
No. The solution to that's fine. If you don't want your children enrolled in those classes, then don't send them to public school.
Yeah.
Send them to a school that practices your particular beliefs, or homeschool them yourselves. And don't worry, just like everyone else who doesn't agree with the Prussian model of education, which we're all on the hook to pay for, whether we have children enrolled in schools or not, whether we believe in those schools or not, whether we choose to send our children to private schools or homeschool them or not, if you want to obtain a state-sponsored piece of paper saying that your child has completed the mandatory curriculum, then they do the classes that are on the mandatory curriculum. If you don't want that, then don't do it. But keep paying your tax dollars just like everyone else who disagrees with it.
So this is an interesting article in that. So it's phys ed, which is the phys ed issue is that they don't want them in co-ed phys ed. So if it was gender segregated phys ed, then that would be fine. And we're talking about middle school age kids. We're talking about 8 to 12-year-old kids. And then music is that they won't be allowed, like they don't want their children participating in the music class, which are both compulsory requirements. So in this article, they did discuss with a local, we call them a local Muslim leader, for whatever that, I don't know what that title means, but their state, like their take on it is and the quote is, who was advising them? Like, my first concern would be, who are these new immigrants talking? This is the first time I'm hearing of this. I'm not very happy about it. So even the local Muslim leader is going, what the hell are these people talking about? Like, this is an extremist view that even the local Muslims are having nothing to do with, kind of thing.
So you don't want little Mohammed to run around, play floor hockey, and get a boner while listening to rap, right? That's what they're talking about, right?
Well, and then
I don't
what's
know those
interesting
are
is
concurrent activities, but yes.
So take Mohammed out of gym class. What the fuck is the problem? Why do they have to segregate?
No, they want to take you out of gym class. The problem is that it's a compulsory for that.
Yeah,
for the
but
Manitoba.
That's part of the problem, though, right? Like, if you start going, okay, you can take them out of this class, you set a precedent, which means you can take them out of every class. For better or worse, public school curriculum that you have to send everyone to. If you don't like it, start your own school.
Yeah, but I firmly agree with you.
I mean,
being that it's a handful of kids over a handful of schools, why is this an issue? Who gives a shit? Take him out, let him go read a book or play with himself in the corner.
Okay, so that's the point I wanted to get to, Sean.
So here's the thing, though, Sean, is that they need to satisfy the requirements of the provincial school system. If they don't participate, they're not meeting the requirements of the grade. Can they
do what you do to kids? So do what you do to kids that don't show up, that skip school to go to pot. Put them in summer school. It's public school. Like, if they don't want to go, there's consequences for not going.
That's
especially for 1 or 2
parents are asking for exemptions from these things. They're not saying that they're just going to pull them out and then they're going to have to make it up later. They're asking for exemptions. So right now we're talking about music and phys ed, but let's say it was math. Let's say they had a religious, they disagree with our math program.
So that's the slippery slope I don't want to go down. If we start making exceptions for a handful of students to get around a compulsory model, bearing in mind that I don't agree with the modern education system or the Prussian school model, sum total, the government should not have schools that we put children in the first place. Barring all of the nonsense with the government school model, if that's the accepted model, if that's what everyone else is required to do in order to obtain their certificate of completing their education from the state, if we allow a handful of people to have an exception for a class, which gym is a highly irrelevant class, it doesn't really give you a lot of life skills, right? If we allow them to start doing that, what happens when they disagree with other curriculum, which is Marty's point? So now they disagree with science and mathematics. For some reason, they want an exemption for doing that. Like, where do we draw the line?
Right fucking there. We do it right there.
You draw that line day one. There is no exemption from any class.
No exemptions.
That's what I mean.
That is the curriculum.
Yeah. So the issue is if you set the precedent here, then you have no ground to stand on there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why if you don't want your child in school to get the state-approved piece of paper to say they completed the mandatory curriculum, fine. They don't go to school. You still get to pay taxes. You still have consequences for not sending your children to school. Because if Sean, you have children. You're the only person on the panel tonight that has children.
Yeah, I have a son.
What do you imagine would happen if your child was supposed to be going to school and you decided to not send them? Do you imagine there would be some state-sponsored violence to encourage you to send your children to school? Some sort of a penalty, perhaps? Maybe the threat of force?
No, because what we would hold him, he would get held back and have to go through it another year.
No.
I'm
If
of
you're
the
a
opinion
kid,
they would
they
actually
show up.
send services after you.
Yep.
Absolutely. You are legally required to send your child to school. If you don't, you will have a knock on your door.
Right. So this is where I have a problem with this. Is why are we allowing certain people to have exemptions from something that any other person is reasonably required to do. Right? Like if I have children and I choose not to enroll them in school and send them, the state will send people to enforce the will of the state because I am legally required through some sort of contract, which I did not sign or agree to enroll my child in public school or some other government-approved form of education.
Much like Catholicism, you were born into it.
Yes.
So
Standing on the magic dirt makes you a Canadian. I understand.
You have to abide by it. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a slippery slope on both ends of it in that, like, you know, given that we live in a country that allows people to practice any and all religions, we do need to provide the ability to do so and be conscious of the fact that there are certain times where certain things may not necessarily coincide with their religion. And we need to, in our best ability,
All right, I think Gavin's gone there, but
I think Gavin's internet died.
Just to pick up where he was talking about there is, you know, I agree. You know, there's, you know, we can accommodate other
my internet sucks today.
religions. You know,
But
yeah, all of ours does.
But yeah, like,
you know, I think, you know, we can accommodate other religions and respect whatever they want to do and allow them to do whatever they want to do. But once they are interfering with the sort of with society, no longer are they just practicing their own religion, they're enforcing their religion on the rest of us.
Well, exactly that, and like, there's nothing that says that they can't start their own school that follows their particular religious beliefs to the letter. And if they would like to attend those schools, they are free to fund those schools on their own and send their kids there, so long as they meet the other criteria that a public school or any other school that is set up meets the same, you know, requirements.
There are curriculum laid out by the government that you are required to meet. How you go about meeting them is your own.
Even if you're a private school.
Yep. Yeah, so if you want to have segregated classes, which some schools do, some schools are, you know, exclusively male or female. Some are exclusively Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever they are. If you'd like to send your child there to those schools, you are free to do so, but that will cost you money. If you would like to attend, you know, the state-funded education system, then you have to follow to the letter the state-funded education curriculum and all of that fun stuff. And, you know, they can't tell you that you can't practice religion, but you also can't say that, oh, I'm not attending this class because of this. Like, you don't have to send your kids there.
Music is a requirement, is a provincial requirement. If it's a private school as well, they would also have to have that music requirement.
Well, they could learn to play whatever it is that they play in their part of the world, like, and make it culturally appropriate.
No. They are not concerned about the instrument. It is that they believe that music, not just like North American music.
Well, I mean, it's sort of stupid that music is one of those things, but at the same time, like, people should be exposed to music because it exists in this world.
Unless it's Justin Bieber.
That's not music.
And especially, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons as to why music is beneficial, especially at a young age, but that's beside the point. I mean, this is the situation that we're looking at here. I think that myself, like, they chose to immigrate here.
Yeah.
They chose Canada. And this is our society. Now, they chose to immigrate here for a reason. Like, our society is, let's say, a safer society, perhaps, or, you know, there's benefits to our society that didn't exist in their homeland.
That's right.
Yeah.
So maybe they should consider giving our society, the rules of our society, the workings of our society, maybe they should consider adapting to that, the society of which is successful and is beneficial. Maybe they should consider adapting to that instead of trying to bring their society here, which has demonstrably not been successful.
Well, I can not personally, because I don't know any of them personally, but didn't we open our arms to 25,000 refugees from a certain country this last year that said, bring your religion, bring everything, and we'll make a home for you. So a lot of these families had nowhere else to go, so they came to Canada. And that was the first option.
Well, and don't get me wrong, we're kind of talking about one particular group of people right now, but this applies to everybody that comes to this country.
That's right.
Like, there needs to be a little give and take. We can't expect everyone to give up everything when they come over here. However, they are moving here by choice of some sort, so they need to at least adapt and conform to the way things work over here, at least a little bit. Like, what's the point of living the life that you live in whatever country you come from when you get here? That doesn't make any sense. You left where you are for something better, and this is the better.
Yeah, I was going to say that. To Sean's point, is he saying they may not have chosen Canada specifically, but when they chose anywhere else over their homeland, then they should be maybe trying to take a look at what their homeland was providing versus what these other countries were providing.
Yeah. I mean, you look at any other group throughout history that is immigrated here by choice or by necessity, if you will, because they didn't necessarily choose Canada, but it was open to them and they had to leave where they were going or they were from. They've adapted. They've at least, gone with the 50-50 give and take, right? Like, they've conformed enough that they fit in and don't stand out per se.
Right.
But they've still made all of that.
And pretty well all of them, as basically as any influx of a high percentage from any specific nation has immigrated into North America, they've all faced some aspect of racism as some sort of resistance to them coming here, and that's all been pretty well exclusive, universally. That's been eliminated because as they came here, people recognized that they adapted. They were contributing members of our society, and that sort of discrimination against those. Think about the Irish, the Italians, and all, as they came here. There was a huge resistance to those nations coming here, and then as years went on, that they were completely contributing to our society. Everybody forgot about that. Now we have a group coming here that has no interest in assimilating. They want very specific exclusionary rights and things like this. It's understandable that there is Canadians, that there are Americans that are upset about this, because they are not coming here to be Canadian. They're not coming here to be American. They're coming here to bring their homeland here and try and bring their society here, thinking that it's the ground. It's almost as if they think that it's the dirt that we stand on that's prosperous. The magic dirt, man. And it's not totally the magic dirt. Yeah, it's not the soil that we stand on. It's the society that we built. And I think that's what's lost on this sort of current immigration.
All right, let's get on to the next one. Property owners in Toronto have recently, there's a specific set of Toronto property owners that have been recently reassessed by MPAC, and they received a 100% increase in their property taxes. This comes to us from the CBC.
So
this is just another reason not to live in Toronto.
You know what? I look at this. My in-laws. My in-laws' property has also increased over 100%. Their farmland.
In the course of a year?
Yes, in the course of one assessment.
Yeah.
And an assessment is every 4 years.
Yeah. MPAC is a whole... I don't know. Is cabal the wrong term for them? The fact that
so
we have,
this is not... Yeah.
Sounds about right.
the fact that we have an agency that's responsible for assessing the value of property that I already own already sounds very Orwellian. I don't care for this in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, isn't
I'd
it
say this is
worth what you paid
as far-
for it? Like, if anything, that's the value. Is that you paid X amount of dollars for it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think again, as in terms of my in-laws, it's quite substantial when you double the value of farmland, and yet I'll point out this fact that this is happening all across this, at least all across this province. I assume likely all across this country where this kind of bullshit is happening, and it's interesting that this never made an article until it happened in Toronto.
Yeah, isn't that sort of telling of the that's telling of the society in which we live, or at least the way that the media reports what they consider to be the facts?
That's because you guys
All of a
live
sudden
in the
this
middle of
happened to
nowhere.
someone in Toronto.
Your internet is shit, and the email just hasn't reached the news agencies yet.
I do
those
I do
electronic
feel,
letters that people speak of.
Yeah, because nobody reads snail mail anymore.
I do feel badly for the business owners that this is affecting on Yonge Street. Like this sucks for small businesses, but at the same time, you've started a business. Maybe just don't do that in Toronto. Just stop giving the municipality that money.
So, and
Go
this is
somewhere where
always
you're
a
valued.
thing. So, I have a big issue with Toronto in general, but I have a big issue not just with Toronto, in terms of the government forced urbanization. So they make essentially incentivizations to for municipalities to intensify. Okay, so then what happens is it creates, naturally the market responds. You have a lot more demand than supply, and the prices all go up. Well, then everybody accepts, now the government needs to step in and control these prices. And it's like, it's just, bad government policy following bad government policy. Let the market control the stuff. As these prices go up, people are going to spread out. If we don't put every fucking business in Toronto, they're going to go elsewhere. Because elsewhere, they can open their business. If they'll property will be less, energy level prices are less, taxes will be less because they're not paying, these urbanized rates. And then, they'll have a small pop-up community around that business. That's why we had small communities, small towns all across this country. It was this exact reason, and this is why it was successful. We had all these small towns. There'd be, one or two businesses that would pop up, and then you'd get a small community surrounding these businesses. The government policy of forcing everything into the main cities is what's killed this, and it's what's killing these small towns. And it's not beneficial to anybody. You look at the death that is like the GTA. Like, it's just incredibly destructive policy, and then trying to make more destructive policy to cover it up. Like, when you look at in Ontario, the GTA pays the lowest rate of property taxes of the rest of the province. That makes no sense whatsoever.
That's mind-boggling. I don't. Yeah, no.
It's like 10% of what the rest of the province pays. Something like that. It's substantially less what they pay as their property tax rate. not in terms of the dollar figure, but in terms of the rate that they pay. And it's that kind of bullshit. Like, it's just make it equal, and the market will balance itself.
Hey, don't tread on me, Marty. Don't tread on me, bro. I like my low tax rate.
Yeah.
At least property tax rate. Every other tax rate should drop. Every other tax should just go down too, and then I'd be okay. Then I'd actually be able to afford to live somewhere that's not a basement.
It's a very nice basement, though.
It's true. I like it. It's not so bad. I mean, me and the dog do all right.
Let's do the next one. This comes to us from Vice Media. The birth of Canada's armed anti-Islamic Patriot, in quotes, group. Oh, Mac Lemarou, you're a douchebag. The guy that wrote this article is a total knob. You remember what, like, in 2010 when Vice was, like, edgy and, like, produced good quality media and was actually in possession of some journalistic integrity?
Yeah, it didn't seem to be too far left or right. Like, it was kind of fairly down the middle and informative.
Yeah, Mac Lemarou, you have officially put the glass nail in the coffin of Vice.
Yeah.
Everything that this organization produces is vitriol at this point.
Yeah, this article triggered me almost as much as this 80% lower nonsense.
Oh, yeah, okay, so backstory on the article. Mr. Lemarou spent 8 months infiltrating this 3% Alberta chapter. He got access to their Facebook page. Horrors of horrors. He applied for and was accepted.
Some secret squirrel shit right there. Like,
yeah. Their top secret Facebook page.
Skunk
Works. You have a closed Facebook group. I guess I better apply for membership in this closed Facebook group.
Right.
And now
I also
all of the secrets of the 3%.
Oh, look, nobody.
And he also comments
because it's Facebook.
Yeah, so he also comments like, I applied with the thing saying that I am a reporter, and they totally accepted me. It's like, yeah, they're accepting everybody. It's a Facebook page. It's not top secret.
Totally.
They weren't worried about
it. Tier 1, maybe tier 0.5, which is even higher than tier 1 for anyone listening that doesn't know. It is. Yeah, these are the dudes. They're for serious, yo.
Oh, well, these armed militias need to be taken seriously, or at least that's what Vice would like you to believe.
Yeah, if they weren't fat fucks that didn't have any training.
I was gonna say, I mean, like, I will, like, these guys do seem kind of douchebags. Like, I'm not a big fan of this whole group, but it's laughable as to how much credit they're given by this Vice article.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this Vice article is not, like, the Vice article uses pictures that are clearly not valid. There's a picture of a person with what is obviously an AK-47. It's not an SKS. It is obviously an AK-47, which we cannot have here. No one is posing for pictures with journalists with AK-47s in our country. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not a Valmet?
It was an SKS, dude. Anyway, regardless.
At least according to the media lately.
Yeah, according to the media.
Still an SKS.
I liked
this article.
I like the picture of, like, the arsenals. It's like, like two lever action golden boys and like
a single shotgun and
so definitely a couple.
There's a mare's leg in there, and
and that's an arsenal, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, just Lemarou contacts the RCMP for comment, And the RCMP tells him that, this isn't a terrorist group that we're watching. They're
This isn't a thing.
just chill there, Vice. Just take about 10% off. At the same time, I do want to talk about the 3% movement and the 3%ers in Canada, because when you have things like the wall of security at a rally where it's 8 out-of-shape middle-aged boomer cucks, it is not a wall of security. It's a wall of fat fucks.
Oh no, these guys had plate carriers with no plates and like pouches for days, and all their shit is jacked up.
Don't worry.
Right,
if you want to get jacked up, you can also get access to the secret squirrel Google Calendar that this Facebook group uses to coordinate their events.
I believe by events you mean combat training.
So they included the Vice article included one of their Facebook posts. So I mean, like they've highlighted this Facebook from within their 8-month infiltration of their super secret Facebook group. I mean, this is the one that really shows you guys like how awful this group is. All right. Good morning, sisters. We are going ahead with Saturday's training. South Calgary at the ranch. Formation movement, platoon style movement, signals, hand signals, live fire drills, assault styles. The guys' names. They'll have lots to train us with, and then the dates and the time. And it's bring ammo, weapons if you're using yours. Otherwise, if you're buying, let us know. And if you can, please bring a non-perishable food item for the vets food bank. That would be stellar.
So they're gonna shoot some guns and donate some canned goods. Is that?
It's like this is the art. Like no, look at how awful these guys. They're gonna go and do some drills, and then they're gonna donate some canned food, guys.
So I think the
really
important thing that we maybe talk about here is that like there is no official 3% group. Like 3% is it's an idea, it's a concept, right? Like
so it's like ISIS.
So there's
no
less
there's being sexually assaulted, but yes.
Yeah. Like there's like just like there's no official gang. Like because a lot of these 3% to pretend that they're motorcycle club, like I club or you're not, but there's a lot of people that like it's a movement, it's an idea. So there's a lot of organizations that follow this train of thought, which is maybe we should explain what 3% is, but like there's a lot of groups that believe in this idea, but there is no official like we are the only and everything to do with 3% organization. Like one of the biggest ones, at least in the US, is the Oath Keepers.
Ah, yes, the boomer cocks.
Yeah.
They will literally
like
a Nazi in the face.
Yeah.
Yes,
but like the 3%
is a douchebag.
Yeah, but the whole concept is that like it only takes 3% of the population to overthrow a tyrannical government.
Yeah, so I think it's based on the thought that it was 3% of the American population that fought against the British.
Yeah, the vast majority of people didn't give a shit. 3% of the population actively engaged in open warfare against the British and were able to violently overthrow a tyrannical government at the time. That's what the whole thing is about. And in my mind, I think that like a movement is kind of a vague, like there's people that kind of have different varying opinions on it. But in my mind, the whole 3% movement is all about embracing and protecting your country's cultural identity and heritage and preserving that, whatever that may be, which for different countries is totally a different thing. And the Canadian identity, although similar to the US, is different than the US. You know, there's some subtle differences, and that's, to me, what that is all about. You know, the Vice article paints it that, you know, we're all anti-government, we're all anti-Islam, we're all anti-this, that, and everything else. And it's like, no, at any point in time, the opinions may, you know, coincide or contradict, you know, the opinions of other things that are going on at time. Like, you know, at some points you may have to support the government because they're not tyrannical. At other times you may have to oppose them directly because they are. It's not always anti-government. It's supporting the core identity of your nation and being patriotic to what your nation's original plan is. That is what it's about. It's not about wearing a t-shirt or putting a decal on your truck that says 3% and, you know, infidel and all this nonsense like, you know, 90% of the people seem to be all about.
And what happens is with every, you know, with everything is you're always going to get your extremists. And, you know, like we'll talk about here, you know, none of us here are against anybody practicing, I think it's safe to say, nobody here is against anybody practicing Islam. They're not nobody's against that kind of thing. It's when it gets taken beyond probably like where it's like, you know, you're trying to influence beyond that. Like it's like you can do whatever you would like, but as soon as you start trying to influence policy elsewhere, that it becomes an issue. And so you're going to see, like, you know, like we will talk about, you know, we're against sort of bad immigration policies. You know, immigration policies.
For the panel in general, I would say that the general idea is as long as you don't violate the non-aggression principle, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it's like, do whatever the hell you want as long as you're not forcing us to do that thing. And now what'll happen is because that taking that stance, you know, we're going to have some issue with the current immigration policy of bringing everyone we can, regardless of their background, regardless of what their history is, regardless of what their beliefs are, bring them all in. You know, like that's a bad immigration policy, and I will be critical of that.
Yeah,
you're going to get with if you're that, you're going to have these guys that are, or these women or whoever that are, you know, you're going to be legitimate people that suck and are going to be like, yeah, fuck Islam and everything it stands for. And hey, those guys over there, they're against bringing those Islams in. I'm associated with those guys. You know, you have that bullshit that happens. And that's going to happen here with these guys as well. You're going to have a large portion of them that are going to be somewhat moderate, just saying, like, I just disagree with the politics of today. And then 1 or 2% of them are going to be the extremists that are just looking for a home and saying, I agree with them, and then I take it this step further to where I'm a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like, I mean, I've said it before on here, and I'll say it again. Like, my father was a refugee that came to this country because he didn't really have that much more of an option. And he came from a predominantly, or at least 50-50, like Muslim Catholic country. But when he came here, he adopted the ways of the place that he came to. You know, he came from Albania, which at the time that he left was a communist nation. So, I mean, a tyrannical government. So he had to leave there and found his way here and all that. And
I mean, it's too bad we don't have Tim on tonight. I mean, he's descendant of immigrants.
It's true, he is.
But I'm sure he would say the same thing.
And you know, and I am also the admin of one of the Ontario 3% groups. There's two of them because there's a bunch of people that left because they were all butthurt because I didn't let them post bullshit that had nothing to do with Canada or Ontario or the movement in its purest form, because I think all of that shit is nonsense. Like, either you're patriotic or you're not.
Some of that nonsense shit I want to touch on, because the desire for these people who are, again, predominantly overweight boomers going to rallies wearing their motorcycle vests, is that really the image that you want to promote?
So
think very carefully about public perception.
Talk about this separately.
Oh no, let's get into that now, because this is one of those like conservatism things that I want to get into, because this is a problem that I have with the Oath Keepers and Stuart Rhodes in particular being a douchebag.
Again, I agree 100% with the concept of the Oath Keepers, but yeah, the implementation has been somewhat arguable. And these guys, there's aspects of what they're saying and what they're doing that I'm like, okay, I understand what you're saying and doing, but then just what they're doing is ridiculous and it's LARPy. It's not benefiting anybody. It looks bad. It's painting us all in a bad light. It's just there's just so much wrong they're doing. It's like I understand where the sentiment that they're coming from is. Like, you know, I get what you're coming from, but you're doing this in such a way that it looks bad on everybody. There's nothing positive coming from what you're doing, and it's
like their heart is in the right place, but the way that it comes off screws us all, because like it's now to the point where, you know, like just because like we as a podcast have Patriot in the name, have been, you know, painted as, you know, national socialists and racists and white supremacists, and it's like, no, that's not the same thing. Like, shitty white people have done nothing good for white people, you know, like that. We're patriots because we love the country that we live in and are from, and that has nothing to do with race, religion, background, or anything else.
I have said it before on this show. I will say it again. Patriotism is supporting your country all of the time and your government when it deserves it. Full fucking stop. Exactly.
And to me, that's what the 3% movement at its core should be about. But there are too many idiots out there. And I know this is going to catch me flack for anyone that is in the group or whatever, and I don't care, because for me, it's all about the purity of the movement. And that's what it should be. Sometimes these, you know, ideals may overlap with other groups. Other times they may not. If you don't like it, I don't fucking care. Get out of the group. Go join that other official group that has zones and captains of zones and sells t-shirts and patches, because putting that shit on your plate carrier with no plates and wearing it 3 inches too low does not make you a patriot.
Yeah, that reminds me. Since I'm going to be sharing this podcast later in select 3%er groups, if you happen to be the captain of Zone 3, Ontario, please contact me post haste. I have questions.
For the record, Zone 3 is everything that is south of Barrie and west of Toronto.
Indeed. I don't understand how you came up with the zones in Ontario. Also, what is north of like Wawa? Because it's not defined on your map.
I believe that's Indian country, so they don't count.
The optics of your movement are stupid. This is the same problem. And the Vice article references this. This is the same problem I have with the Soldiers of Odin. Great. You all want to celebrate your Nordic heritage. I support that. That is a wonderful thing. why do you have to dress the way you dress, and why do you have to report yourselves to the media the way that you do? Could you not find somebody who owns a tie to stand in front of a camera?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whoever was the guy that did this Vice article, I mean, is the last person that should have been speaking to the media, and especially this particular media outlet. You know, as an admin for the Ontario
You're
group.
For the media.
Exactly. Like, as the admin for the Ontario group, like, it's Facebook, so I don't like vet people that hard because like I have a job and shit and I've got stuff to do. But like, if you try to join the group, I kind of take a quick look through your profile, and like, if it looks like you're relatively on the level with everyone else, then I approve it. And there have been a few people that have work history, and what they currently do is work for a media outlet that is super leftist. I just hit the no button. And one of these guys worked for Vice, so I was like, no. And I told everybody. And
so that's one of those things that I wanted to get to with this, is because Vice is reporting that the 3%ers are a tight group of openly anti-Islamic people. Like, from what I have seen on the Facebooks with the 3%, a tight group, it is not. It's a bunch of people that run Facebook groups.
Yeah.
It's not.
And again,
like they're
probably is a couple guys in there that are dicks and are just being like, fuck all the Muslims. Like, that's
not on my group, because I rule that shit with an iron fist.
Yeah, I've seen Gavin drop the ban hammer, but I've also spent the better part of the last 24 hours basically just calling everyone in the 3% groups an idiot every time they do something idiotic. Spelling mistake? Yeah, you're an idiot. Don't do this. This is why Vice writes article about you. Oh, openly anti-Islamic rhetoric for no real reason. You're an idiot. Don't do this. This is why Vice makes articles about you. Oh, you're posting a picture. Your finger's on the trigger of that Lee Enfield. You're an idiot. Don't do that. This is why Vice makes fun of you. I'm waiting to get banned. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole reason that there are two Ontario groups is because there's a bunch of people that got butthurt by me not allowing people to post shit that had nothing to do with Canada. Like, they're not even posting like this, that, or whatever.
Yes,
it's like, this happened in Europe.
You're making a hard sell for the social medias right now. Let me just say that.
I'm telling you, Marty, You're missing out. You got to get Facebook, man. There are people that you could trigger. All I do is walk around and trigger people.
Yeah.
That's not even true. I don't even walk around. I literally do it sitting down.
Every day I'm triggering. That's how I roll.
They see you riding dirty. They triggered.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So like, I don't want to make it sound like I hate this group, because I admit it, and I think I've met some great people from it, and there are some good people out there that are doing Patriot shit. But all of a sudden people think that like, oh, I'm gonna like join this Facebook group, and now all of a sudden I've got like 2,000 dudes that have my back and are gonna like take a bullet for me. No. I'm sorry. Works. I have a very, very close-knit group of people that I know and trust, which like to bitch about politics on the internet every Monday night around 9 o'clock. And these are the people that I trust. Just because you have joined my Facebook group or some other internet organization does not mean that I trust you with my life. I need to meet you. I need to spend time with you and realize that you are not a shithead in order to achieve that goal. And all these people are all about like mobilizing and starting this and that, but like nobody wants to throw a social barbecue where you get to like go and hang out and meet people face to face and see if they're a dirtbag or not.
Again, this is one of my huge complaints with this. With the 3% movement, is there's a lot of people on the internet talking about all of their bros and what they need to do to organize for the movement. But as soon as I start asking, okay, when are you guys going to have like an in-person get-together? No one responds.
That's because everybody wants to do 3% stuff until it's time to refresh that tree.
Right? Look, this is so again for the 3%ers that are listening, because I'm posting this in your thing. Go to jack-donovan.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. It'll be something you can click on. We're not brothers. Don't bro me if you don't know me. Stop calling me your brother. This is something like 3%, Sons of Odin. I don't care which particular group you're part of. I am not your brother. Stop calling me your brother. That's not a thing. I have those. You're not them. You're random fucking people on the internet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to take away from here is you know what? There is going to be a time, you know, it seems inevitable. There's going to be a time for, you know, where talk and politics is no longer going to be the way to move forward, and violence or defensive violence is going to be necessary. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your Facebook group is going to help you out. You know, you need to have a solid around you. You need to have a solid plan around you, and pretending out with like these kind of groups and these types of things, you know, these people aren't going to be there when shit actually hits the fan. You know, I mean, there's going to be one or two people on a group like this that they're going to jump the gun. You know, they're going to go, but way before necessary. They're going to be, all of a sudden they're going to do something and then expect your support.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, they have taken the aggressive action. They have done the thing that you're hoping never happens. And you're not going to back them up because they're bullshit. You know, they've done the bullshit action. Like, that's where these kinds of things break down. That's where these kind of groups break down, is somebody jumps the gun, nobody's going to back them up because they're fucking idiots, and everything falls apart.
And even that, like, even if it gets beyond that point where, like, shit gets real, like, we actually need to do this. Percent of the population have actively opposed this. So that means 7% of the population sit there twiddling their thumbs and doing sweet fuck all. So you're still a minority group in that whole thing. So that means that 3% of the people that are actually part of this 3% group are actually going to be the ones that actively do anything about it if and when that time comes.
And it's one of those things, like, I think that's a topic we've talked about, like, bringing into the podcast more, so in terms of the prepping side of things. But the prepping mentality is you sort of, you know, you want to prep for the most likely scenario first. And the most likely scenario is not that of a violent insurrection where, you know, an extremist rebel group is going to take over the government and gain control of Canada. You know, that's just not going to happen. You know, the most likely scenario is we're going to have an economic downturn. We're going to have a depression. You know, if in terms of a prepping scenario, like the most likely, you know, critical situation is something similar to that. It can be a lot more basic. You know, strengthen yourself about that first. Worry about worry about the things that are likely to happen in your life first. Don't worry about, or don't plan as your number one issue as being a violent overthrow of the government. That makes no sense. It doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit yourself. You know, worry about the things that you are likely to face in the near future.
I think for fun next week, we should just do a total non-news, just talking about that stuff, Marty. Because
Yeah.
everything lately has been very blackpilling, and as much as I find it fun to go on 3% forums and try and trigger people, it's kind of getting old.
For now. But yeah, like...
All right, we have... I was going to do the outro. Do you have more stuff?
But carry on.
All right, we have a message. Derek Jones, that's been on the show before, would like us to remind you that there's big news coming regarding the Founders Club. If you'd like to go to the premiershootingcenter.com/the-founders-club, there's a link in the show notes. Go to Premier Shooting, sign up for his email information. The Founders Club is coming. The Founders Club is his premier level of membership at the Premier Shooting Center. Derek lays everything out very clearly on the website and in an email about exactly what that means and what the benefits are for you, our listeners. We also have
I looked at
the
it.
Phil.
Oh, we're not talking about. Come on, he was on the podcast. He
Go ahead.
More than a minute. I think it was somewhat around $4,000 to be a member of the Founders Club. In that,
I didn't want to say that because I can't remember if that was privileged knowledge or not. Is that a commonly known thing?
No. Yes, I found that on their site themselves.
Yeah.
And
okay, I couldn't remember if you told me that in confidence or not.
No, but $4,000, and that gave you various discounts up to, I think, around 35% off their annual range membership after about 5 years. So it seems like if they can get this thing off the ground, it's a hell of a deal because, 35% off a range membership, especially in a range that's that close to the sort of the GTA or within driving range of the GTA, assuming if you can get in to a range within that distance, you're looking at a relatively high price point. Like I think what is a share at Sharon these days? At $10,000, something like that. So it could be a good price in the long term, assuming these guys get off the ground, and that's kind of the risk you take.
Yeah. So yeah, it's from my understanding, it's a $4,000 investment from the get-go, but you definitely get a lot of benefits. You get, like Marty said, a discount on your membership every year, and it's increases as you increase your membership time. You get a discount in the pro shop and private events and a bunch of other stuff. So I think when it's all said and done at the end of 5 years, if you do this deal, it'll likely be cheaper than being a member at several other ranges that are in and around the same driving distance from Toronto and everything else. It's also probably, by the sound of it, if they get everything that they want to do, going to be the most high-tech and longest range that you'd be able to shoot at anywhere in the area.
Yeah, and I also believe that if you are a member of the Founders Club, you actually become a percentage landowner in the property. So your investment is somewhat hedged by the land value.
Yeah. No, I mean it's all good things. We totally support these guys in their endeavor, and I would love to get in on this. I need to check my finances and make sure that this is a possibility. But I mean, I personally, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the people on this podcast because that's not
You're
cool.
close enough.
It's a really long drive for Sean.
Yeah.
For Sean, it's a little bit far, but I would love to do this because for me, it's not that much further than what I need to do. And I used to live in and around the Peterborough area. But like to find a range, like they're talking going out to 1,000 in this area. There's only one other that doesn't allow the public at it that often. So for you long distance shooters, like this is the place to be. get in on this. Maybe not the Founders Club if you don't have the money to do it, but you should definitely look at getting in a membership here, because this is going to be the place to shoot at, it sounds like.
Yeah,
but for those of you that have money
it's a lot of money
to burn.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
The money just sitting there, do it. Like, no questions, do it. These are the guys. He's a good dude. We met him in Vegas. He's been on our show. Solid guy.
Gavin, do you want to tell everybody about the charity shoot?
I do. I would love to tell everybody about the charity shoot. The charity shoot is going to be July 8th in Guelph, Ontario, at the Guelph Rod and Gun Club. It's going to be $40 to enter into the shooting competition. If you just want to come out and hang out and just like socialize and watch people shoot guns and stuff like that, you can do that too, and that's free and that's totally fine. But you should totally just come out and shoot it, because that'll be way more fun. 4 stages planned for you guys, plus the plate rack stage, which is going to be awesome, and you can win some cold hard cash on that stage. Yeah, like I said, which is one.
And Gavin's internet has officially shit the bed.
Support group.
Oh.
Responders. Can you hear me now?
Your internet is broken.
Can you hear me now? Am I good? Can I keep going?
Yeah, try again. Try again.
Thing.
All right, stop trying.
Yeah, no, your internet is sucky. Anyway, Guelph Rod and Gun Club, July 8th. No, Gavin, I swear to God,
Gavin, stop. Just stop.
July 8th, Guelph Rod and Gun Club. Visit our website, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Click on the link at the top. 7th Annual Canadian Firearms Charity Podcast. That's maybe not the right order of the right words. Click on that. Nope, register. Let us know you're coming. I stand by what I said. Click on the link. Let us know you're coming. $40 gets you in. That covers your lunch. That gets you a Tim's Good t-shirt. That gets you 1 raffle ticket for our fantastic prizes that Gavin has been coordinating. We'll be there all day. When we're done, there will be a significant amount of alcohol to be had. All of the information is on our website, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Gavin, I don't know if this is going to work. Where can people find you?
Can you hear me? Are we good?
Yes, where can people find you on the internet?
Excellent. You can find me on the internet on Instagram at urbex_GTA, or on Facebook with the Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders, or tkpnation.com.
Marty, where can people find the podcast?
The podcast, or can I just give my own plug?
Sure, plug your own thing.
All right, I'll use my opportunity to plug Tim's Good Tees. So, timsgoodshirts.ca.
They're quite good.
They are.
They are quite good.
I'm wearing one right now. Hashtag bayonets out for Harambe.
Nice. I just got my order.
And
thanks, buddy.
Go to timsgoodshirts.ca. Get your official happy 150th Canada Taxation is Theft tee.
Agreed. They are more than quite good, in fact.
Also,
Sean,
if you want to get in touch with the podcast, it's CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, Facebook.com/CanadianPatriotPodcast. You can send us your feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback, or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Sean, let's hear what you have.
I'm around. Go check out the CCFR. AGM is this weekend in Calgary. Unfortunately, I can't go due to kids and new job and stuff. But lots of other people will be there, including the renowned Tracy Wilson and our favorite guest, Rod Giltaga. There's a big election going on in Calgary, in Alberta, I should say, in regards to the Alberta director between Ann Jordan and Aaron Snell. So all you members, CCFR members, get out there and vote. If you want to get in touch with me directly, just find me on the Facebooks or Heineken44 on the Instagrams.
All right. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaga. I wish him well at the CCFR or AGM. I'm afraid we just couldn't fit him into the show this evening, but he is welcome on a future episode.
So
For all
hold
of our
on.
listeners,
Hold on, Andrew. Just before you close out the show, I just want to announce that we will the panel here right now will be making a very, very, very brief appearance on the Jody Minnick podcast. So everyone should tune in and listen to that and support that dude, because he is a solid dude that's doing great things for the gun owners. And it's just like a solid dude all around to begin with. So check those guys out. Another great podcast.
Gavin makes a good point. You can find Jody at thejodyminnickpodcast.com. He's also on iTunes and basically everywhere else fine podcasts are sold.
That, and if you're coming out to the charity shoot, it is rumored that he may or may not be there. So come on out, meet him and or other mid-level podcast Canadian celebrities. Us. Famous than us, no. But, whatever.
No one on Canadian podcast things is more famous than I am. That is a fact. I already apologized to Rod. I think, if not, Rod Giltaga, I'm sorry we couldn't fit you in the show this evening. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.